It's almost as if the Hunter Biden story was made for cinema. And for two journalists and filmmakers to come along and have to crowdfund the budget for this film and to put it together on such a shoestring and to get it out before, mainstream culture has even accepted the veracity of this laptop, I thought was an incredibly brave and interesting thing to do. I think it's great. I mean, if it's the last job I ever do, which at the moment it looks like it is, I'm proud of it.
So, as it would happen at the time when the film is released, there's nobody at this point, at least publicly, among these institutions which were denying the laptop or were saying it has all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation and so forth. Everybody is agreeing that it's real. What a lot of people don't know and what hasn't been covered in the legacy media is the contents, which of course, are explained in various ways in the film itself. Not the entirety of them, or not at least some of the things that I'm aware of, but a considerable amount. So, do you think that how do you think that will impact the reception of the film, I suppose?
Well, again, I think that what Robert Davi wanted to do was, instead of making a sort of partisan troll film, even though it does have elements of that, because you can tell the conservative frustration at the fact that this story hasn't been told properly. I think what Robert Davi wanted to do particularly was to make a film which would appeal to what I would call a sane Democrat, a Reagan Republican, that sort of thing, rather than a squad Democrat. And I think it would be great for a standardly Democrat voting American to watch it and be able to digest the information, take it for what it is. It keeps it very light. It's quite a light, I'd describe it as a sort of gangster comedy in a way, but also to see, what are, okay, this is one end of the spectrum. This film is giving one hard end of the spectrum of the story, but to understand that there is a story within this laptop, and there is a story about a young man, or not a young man, but the son of the current sitting president of the United States, doing deals with what are essentially not the allies of the United States, certainly in China and Ukraine, and what the repercussions of that may be for America more broadly.
Let's talk about how it was to work with Robert Davi.
Robert Davi is absolutely stark raving mad, which is brilliant, which is what you want in a director. He's a big New Yorker, very, very passionate, very, very thorough, very, very keen on authenticity, he's quite scary. I love him. The thing about making a film is the longer you do it, the more you realize how irrelevant you are in other aspects of the creative process. So the actor's job is really just to, as my great mentor once said to me when I was struggling with a piece of acting, he said, say your lines and F off. That's your job as an actor. And Davi's job was to take $2.5 million and make it look like 10, which I think he's done beautifully. And it's very difficult to make, because there's some expositional aspects to the film. As you say, the revealing of these stories. To dramatize that can be quite tricky and difficult, but I think he's a wonderfully talented and passionate and man of great integrity. So I feel absolutely blessed to have worked with him. And interestingly, for a set full of people that were cancelled, I've never seen such a nice atmosphere. Never worked in such a nice atmosphere.
Well, and of course, as I was watching the film, I saw Phelim McAleer's fingerprints all over it, because having seen his Strzok page text drama, essentially, which was just purely made of the words in those texts. It was quite an unbelievable thing to watch. And so very much so, these facts are kind of integrated in curious and unusual ways into the story.
Yeah, there's a name for it. I was reading a review somewhere, and there was a name for what happens when you turn a whole sequence of facts and events and exposition into a short film. But yeah, they're fantastic. Anne and Phelim, who worked for Unreported Story, who produced the film. And they are very strident in their pursuit of the truth. I'd say they're probably a bit more partisan in their approach to it, which is fine because producers have to have a reason to make a film. But I think then there's a delineation and a distance between the producers and the writers and the actor and the director, and that's why, we have to bring to life a set of very, very uncomfortable facts.
So when you were preparing for this role to play Hunter Biden, what did you do?
Well, I listened to his book, Beautiful Things. I think it's called Beautiful Things. The worst thing is once you do a film and you've finished it, you just wipe your memory of all of it. But anyway, I listened to him because I wanted to hear. I get a very strong sense from him that he feels authentic. Whenever I've watched him, he really genuinely seems to believe himself, which I think is probably a very strong trait of an addict anyway. But in order to prepare, I sort of adopt the David Mamet approach, another man whose career is hanging by a thread for having some commonsensical views, who said that the character is on the page and in the script. So all you have to do is just say your lines and believe them, and you become that character. So other than listening to him and becoming actually strangely bewitched by him and how compelling he is in his narrative or in his truth, if you will. I looking into the Laptop from Hell and listening to a few. Listening to quite a lot actually online because it's the only place you can find stuff about the laptop. I just sort of wanted to get a picture of who this guy was, and I think I focused it mainly around the fact that whatever he is and has or has not done, there seemed to be somewhere inside of him this very complex relationship with the big guy or his dad, and that fascinated me because we all have those sorts of relationships with our fathers, very highly complex relationships.